I know, 2 crochet videos in a row, but trust me, these things are worth it. They are so cute. Hello! This week I would like to try something that I've never actually tried before. Well, that might not be true. I may have tried it and it gone not well. It's nothing I've done successfully before. This week I'm going to be trying something that I have never succeeded at yet. We're going to try micro crochet. I've been crocheting since I was about 7 years old and I have never actually done or really maybe even attempted micro crochet, which is essentially regular crochet but on a very tiny scale. And I really love tiny things, so we're gonna go ahead and try this out. Materials for this video are gonna be really simple. In my stash of crochet hooks, I have this really teeny tiny crochet hook. It doesn't actually say the size on it, it just says, does that say L'Oreal? Wait, what is this from? Is this from like some kind of beauty kit? It does in fact say L'Oreal. Turns out these come with cap highlighting kits. This one likely came from my mom at least 10 years ago. It's the smallest crochet hook that I have, so I am going to be doing my best to try it out. Now, I don't actually have the correct thread that you're supposed to use for it. I'm gonna be using my embroidery thread. Several years ago, I had bought a bunch of embroidery thread and tried to get a new embroidery, was not good at it. Maybe I'll do a video about that, trying again sometime in the future. But for now, we're gonna put all of our embroidery colors to good use, and I'm going to attempt to make tiny little crochet items. And my thought on this was to make some small pastries, or maybe a coffee cup or teacup. I've seen little porcelain or clay of these little tiny charms that I think would be interesting to try to do crochet. I don't know, it seemed like a cute, whimsical idea, so it's something that I really want to try out. I would like to, if I can, try to make it into earrings, so I'm gonna make 2 of everything that I come up with. So we're gonna go ahead and get started. Pretty much all of the stitches used were either single crochet or chain stitches, and I started by making a flat base and then using backstitch only, making the next row, then over the next few rows increasing by a few stitches. Then at the very top, I made a couple of chains, brought it down to create the handle. For pretty much all of this footage, I was out of frame, so I skipped back up to the rim. Attached it with a slip stitch and then single crocheted back up those chains to make it just a little bit more stable. I then did one last row of slip stitches to finish it off. The pies are also quite simple. I used this red color as the filling and made a small flat disc. Repeated that same thing for the base of the pie crust, and then I built up the pie crust walls with 2 rows of single crochets. Then I used a row of single crochets to attach the top of the pie crust to the edge of the pie filling. These cinnamon rolls were actually super easy. I made a row of chain stitches and then topped it with 2 rows of single crochets in one color. Switched to a second color, and in the back loop only did 2 more rows of single crochets. I realized that the dough on the outside would need to wrap a little bit, so on the bottom of it, I then came back through and did a third row in the light tan color, and then used my embroidery needle and that same color to wrap it around itself and stitch it all together. At this point it was almost done, just one last step to use what was left of the embroidery thread to create a pie lattice across the top of the filling. The last steps for that was going through and adding the glaze, and for that I used just your average sewing thread and essentially went alongside a single piece of white embroidery thread and just tacked it down with stitches throughout. Then of course when it came to decorating the teacups, I used an embroidery needle, did this brownish goldish color as though it were a painted rim. I used a thinner thread to stitch these precious little tiny flowers all around the outside in this deep blue. And of course, our last step for all of our little crochet trinkets is to turn them into earrings. If you were to do something like this, you could of course make it into a necklace or some other kind of charm, or even make a larger version and do a keychain or something. But for me, I knew I wanted earrings. Initially, I considered adding the charms directly on the hook, but something wasn't right. Unfortunately, I did have to sacrifice an old necklace. I tore apart the chain and used it through a different part of each item, wrapped it back up around, and then onto little earring hooks. And with that, we are of course ready for the reveal. Oh my goodness, are these so cute. Oh, I'm so excited and so happy with how they all came out. This is like a tiny little floral teacup, a tiny little cinnamon roll, tiny little pies. They're just so precious and adorable, and I love them so much. I think between all of them, the most difficult one was the teacup. I was so pleased with how these came out. I think they are just the most adorable and precious little charms. I'm not really sure what you would call them, but I was so happy with how they came out. I hope that this video was fun for you to watch. I don't think that there's a single thing that I didn't like about these, aside from how long it took to make. Well, that's gonna be it for me. If this was your first video, thank you so much for tagging along. Feel free to subscribe to see more of my shenanigans. If you liked the video, like the video. I love you all so much and have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye-bye.